I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
Welcome back everyone, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Star Wars The Mandalorian Episode 1 video. So I'll break everything down. There was a whole bunch of Easter eggs. Obviously it's just the first episode, there'll be 8 this season. So if you're brand new to my channel, I'll be doing videos for all of them. Be sure to subscribe to get everything. I'll do a Star Wars giveaway for all the videos too. Careful for spoilers from the episode if you haven't seen it yet, but we'll just do top 10 WTF and Easter eggs as we go along. So starting with number 10, the place and the setting in the time period. The series takes place 5 years after Return of the Jedi, mostly in the Outer Rim territories. We don't know exactly where it takes place, they haven't said which planets these are, but they'll be visiting a bunch of different planets during the series. For the most part, it seems like we're going to new places that we haven't seen before, but with a lot of Easter eggs for things from the classic trilogy, from the books, from the expanded universe. They're recanonizing some things. There's even some stuff from the Star Wars Holiday Special in here too. As of right now, the Empire has already lost the Battle of Jakku, and what was left of their fleet was taken by the Imperials that seized command in the chaos. There was a bit of an Imperial civil war at Jakku, using special maps from one of Emperor Palpatine's secret caches on Jakku to plot a course through the unknown regions where they would eventually grow into the First Order. But that didn't happen till many years later, so right now the galaxy is still in chaos and the New Republic has not been formed by the rebellion yet. So everybody is still scrambling for power, as you'll see over the next couple of episodes. Not every Imperial left to go form the First Order, so there's still a lot of people that are trying to maintain or restore what power they had under Imperial rule. Number 9, meet the Mandalorian though. So you sort of get that intro with the special musical cues just to let you know what the series is going to be like and what his character does. It's sort of a tutorial on the series in general, this opening scene in the cantina. Bit of a callback to Obi-Wan throwing down in the cantina in Star Wars A New Hope too, opening with a scene of them doing something really badass to let you know how hardcore they are. Apparently, the Mandalorian's name, per Pedro Pascal, is Din Djarin, but we don't know quite how to spell that yet. I haven't seen it written, only spoken. Pedro Pascal did an interview here where he revealed that name. There's a couple big Easter eggs during this big cantina fight, so we get our first tutorial on Beskar steel. Best not scratch it because it's almost priceless. Beskar steel is the special metal that Mandalorians use to make all their weapons and their armor. It's way stronger than Durasteel, which is the most common type of metal used to make ships and other weapons. It's way more resistant to blaster fire, and it's resistant to lightsabers. They don't mention the great Jedi war that the Mandalorians had thousands of years ago, but as we go through this series, I'll do more relevant backstory on the Mandalorian culture's history. You notice that the bartender slides him a replacement drink on the house, but it's empty because the bartender knew that the Mandalorian was going to beat the crap out of those two dudes and wanted to help him do it. The one that's spitting insults at the Blue Mithril is actually speaking Huttese. It's one of the major languages of the criminal underworld of the Star Wars galaxy. The Blue Mithril you may recognize as Horatio Sands from Saturday Night Live 2. He was our first really big cameo in the episode. But number 8, beware the Ravenak. So this area is mostly covered in a frozen ocean. When he goes to secure the taxi to get to his ship, the alien that helps him is a Kubaz, first seen during episode 4. This speeder that pulls up is a slightly modified version of Luke Skywalker's land speeder from episode 4, driven by an R2 unit, but he doesn't like droids. Then we get our second big celebrity cameo. It's Brian Posehn driving the taxi, may he rest in peace. He takes them to the Mandalorian ship, which is called the Razor Crest. It's a pre-Empire patrol ship modified to suit his bounty hunting lifestyle, but the Easter egg for its design is that it's actually based on Jango Fett's ship from the video game Star Wars Bounty Hunter that some of you probably played. But not before the Ravenak eats Brian Posehn and his land speeder in a very Jaws-esque scene, Shark in the Water. It's a brand new creature that they created for the show, but it's kind of like a Rancor crossed with a giant hippopotamus. The next big Easter egg is actually for the Star Wars Holiday Special, so his signature rifle with the dual teeth at the end he uses to shock it away is Boba Fett's rifle from the Star Wars Holiday Special. That cartoon was also the very first appearance of the Boba Fett character, and yes, Boba Fett did appear during this episode. When he's going to get his Beskar pauldron made by the smith, in the background he passes someone wearing armor that looks identical to Boba Fett's green Mandalorian armor. Number 7, the Carbonite Freezer. Obviously big Easter egg for Empire Strikes Back and Han Solo being frozen in carbonite. But the Mythrol tries to fake having to go to the bathroom. We see what is probably our very first space toilet in the Star Wars universe ever, at least I'm pretty sure. When he accidentally opens the weapons locker, you also see Han Solo's blaster on the wall. When he's thumbing through the carbonite bounties, you notice that the aliens are all major characters from the original trilogy from Episode 4 to Jabba's Palace and Return of the Jedi. The first one is a Rodian, R.I.P. Greedo. You may have also seen yesterday there was a bit of an internet controversy on Disney Plus yesterday with the 4K restoration version of A New Hope. Number 6, Grief Karga and the Bounty Hunters Guild. So Carl Weathers plays the administrator of the Bounty Hunters Guild. The guild itself was only created right after the fall of the Empire, so their organization and the bounty pucks that they use, all that stuff, is only a couple years old. You get a shout out to Mon Calamari, Admiral Akbar's homeworld. We get a reminder of the state of the galaxy, times are tough, no one wants to pay guild rates. They give another shout out to Star Wars Underworld during their conversation, which is actually a shout out to the original live-action Star Wars TV series that Ronald D. Moore worked on. They wrote 50 plus scripts, but then wound up scrapping the series at the last minute before they started to shoot it. But then number 5, we learn about The Client. So everyone probably knows at least a little bit who Werner Herzog is, or you just remember his voice from some project that he did. You may also remember him, he did some Rick and Morty during Season 2 Interdimensional Cable that was pretty funny. Based on the necklace that he's wearing in the episode, it seems like he's a former Imperial magistrate trying to retain some power in the chaos, in the fact that he's commanding all these stormtroopers. He also has a very official-looking Imperial doctor working for him. The droid that opens the door for him is the same droid managing the gate at Jabba's palace, and there's also a gonk droid that walks him back through the hallway. They have their three-way Mexican standoff moment, and we get another shout-out to Beskar Steel and the bounty itself. The amount of money in Beskar that he's offering the Mandalorian is actually priceless. The magistrate makes it very, very clear that he wants the bounty terminated, but the doctor insists that it be brought back alive. That's important for later. That'll come back around in a future episode. But he also lets us know what happened to the Mandalorians under Imperial rule. Terrible what happened to your people. Then later the Mandalorian armorer, when she sees the Beskar, says this must have been taken during the Purge. So it sounds like the Empire stole all the Mandalorians' Beskar. And that's where a lot of this Beskar that is being offered as bounty came from. Number 4, the weaponsmith and all of the flashbacks to the prequels. So on the way to the smith, you see a salacious crumb species roasting on a spit in wood in a cage, just meant to be a funny Easter egg for Return of the Jedi. And then we see where the local Mandalorian clan lives. The Mandalorian symbol above the forge is actually designed to look like the skull of the Mythosaur, which Nick Nolte's Ugnaught bounty hunter mentions later in the episode. The Mythosaur was a great flying creature the size of a city that lived on the Mandalorian's previous homeworld of Mandalore and was said to have been conquered by the first person to bear the name Mandalore. When he says to her that he does not have a signet yet, that's just an indication that he hasn't been recognized as part of the local Mandalorian clan or one of the other clans. It's a sign of membership. Like you're not recognized as an official Mandalorian unless you have a signet, which is one of the reasons why Boba Fett was not a true Mandalorian, just someone who adopted Mandalorian armor and weapons. All the flashbacks are to the Clone Wars, so you have to picture this happening somewhere around Star Wars Episode 2. We'll probably get more flashback scenes like this in future episodes. Number 3, meet the Ugnaught bounty hunter in the Blurgs. So the Blurgs are actually Easter eggs for the made-for-TV Ewok Star Wars movies Caravan of Courage and Ewoks Battle for Endor. Super deep cuts. The Ugnaught bounty hunter is played by Nick Nolte. His voice is very identifiable. You'd recognize it anywhere. He mentions the great Mythosaur, like I said. Then we meet IG-11, played by Taika Waititi from Thor Ragnarok. You also probably recognized his voice. He said his character is meant to be kind of like the Terminator inside the Star Wars universe. You kind of get a sense of his personality during that introductory shootout that he has. Number 2, shootout at the OK Corral. Very awesome classic gunslinger shootout right out of a spaghetti western. They even have the Star Wars equivalent of a giant Gatling gun in blaster form. The self-destruct device that IG-11 keeps trying to use is actually just a thermal detonator, also seen during Return of the Jedi in Jabba's palace when Leia whipped it out. Then number 1 WTF, the bounty. This was such an awesome twist reveal. They said it was 50 years old. Some species age differently. Even if you're not a big Star Wars fan, you probably recognize it as a baby of Yoda's species. It's not Yoda, just to be clear, because Yoda died during Return of the Jedi. That was about 5 years ago. So Yoda is a Force ghost right now, laughing at the Mandalorian above, thanking him for helping this baby of his species. The reason why this is so huge on multiple levels is because George Lucas made it so that virtually nothing was known about Yoda's race. We do know a couple things about them, other than the fact that they're long-lived. They're very rare, so members of his species do exist throughout the galaxy, but there are only a couple of them at any given time. They have basic male and female genders, and they all live very long lives, and they're all very, very Force-sensitive. Yaddle is the only other member of his species. She's a female that we saw during any Star Wars movies, any books, or any comic books, so it's possible that Yoda could have mated with her at some point in his 900 years. My other best theory is that it's actually a clone of Yoda because the doctor who was asking it be brought back alive has the same symbol on his sleeve as they did at the cloning facility on Kamino during Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. So let me know in the comments, do you think that this is a clone of Yoda, or do you think that it's actually just another baby of his species that's popped up? But now you see why the magistrate wanted this baby terminated so badly, because it could grow up to be just as powerful a Jedi Master as Yoda someday. So a big threat to the return of Imperial rule, which is clearly what they want. And then we'll obviously see what happens through the course of the series, but a big part of it will probably be him protecting this baby from the Imperials. It was a great episode. Episode 2 is going to be released on Friday, so obviously my video for that will post a little bit more timely than this one did, just because so much is happening this week. If you spotted any other really big Easter eggs in the episode that I didn't mention in the video, just write them below in the comments. Everybody click here for my Rick and Morty Season 4 Episode 1 video, and everyone click here for that Star Wars Mandalorian trailer. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.